We did our presentation about understanding biases in polls and how they can create false outcomes. It can affect how the respondent answers, which can overall change the outcome of the poll and can create false outcomes. It changes the outcome of the polls because if there's a bias present, it doesn't allow respondents to express their different opinions and get different responses. To help reduce bias, it is important to use good weighting to make the sample more representative to the overall population.
It is important to understand what bias is and to then comprehend how it can affect polls and their outcomes. Bias is basically a tendency or inclination against something or someone. While biases can be helpful, they can also be negative. Biases can be made subconsciously or sometimes are made intentionally. A few different kinds of biases can include coverage bias, a non-response bias, and a response bias. These biases should all be taken into account when looking into biases in polls and surveys and can help find where a negative bias or an intentional bias can be found.
The first step is to check the source to see if the company, party, or individual that's conducting the poll is credible. A good tip is to dismiss any polls from social media or websites. This is because websites can have partisan interest and direct their polls towards that with misleading strategic guidance. And platforms like Twitter could, for instance, retweet a poll to make it look like there's a larger sample size.
It is very important to question the wording of a poll to ensure its legitimacy. For example, if you are asked a question two different ways with altered wording, it's important that your answer would be the same in order to collect an unbiased response. Also, if by reading the question, the wording makes it evident that the sponsor of the poll is on a certain side of any issue, this question may be biased.
University's study of CTE in professional football players. This study became very popular when football player / convicted murderer Aaron Hernandez's brains was analyzed. Only the brains of people who displayed neurological symptoms while living were studied. While in the study, in order to remain unbiased, they should have selected candidates who did not experience symptoms. This was important because it did not reflect the entire football population. Therefore, it suggested that those with brain injuries are only those who experience violent patterns and thoughts. It also led players to believe that 99% of football players would get CTE, which was incredibly misleading. Out of the sample studied, only 99% of the players developed CTE, which led parents of children who played football to believe that their child had a 99% chance of developing CTE if they continued to play the sport. Without information, it meant that only 99% of a very specific selected study size had some degree of CTE, not 99% of the general football population. This is a very important distinction when understanding bias in polls and how they can create false outcomes.
If you know what to look out for, this can help you recognize if a poll you're participating in contains a bias. Individuals taking a survey or poll may be biased without consciously realizing it. Weighting in polls helps to find a general representative sample of the population. Many damages can be created by creating a biased survey or poll. These changes may cause the survey or poll conclusions to be skewed. Overall, bias can occur in surveys or polls and it is important to actively check for it.